The grand meeting hall of the Galactic Council sparkled with light that bounced off the crystal walls. 6 alien species and humans had built this place together. Captain Alan Miller walked through the doorway and straightened his blue uniform. He was a tall man with short brown hair and tired eyes. As the military leader for Earth, he had come to many meetings here, but never one called so suddenly. Dr. Samantha Powell rushed to catch up with him. Her red hair was pulled back, and she carried a tablet filled with data. "Any idea what this is about?" she asked. As Earth's science representative, she normally knew about meetings well in advance. Alan shook his head. No. But the message said it was urgent. They entered the main chamber where representatives from all 7 species sat in a half-circle. The Zilari, tall beings with silvery skin, looked more worried than usual. Their 4 eyes blinked rapidly as they whispered among themselves. The Vorn, who resembled large insects, clicked their mandibles nervously. Even the usually calm Medusan delegates floating in their water tanks changed colors rapidly from blue to yellow, a sign of distress. Council leader Zorax, an elderly Zilari with wisdom lines etched across his face, stood at the center. "We have received troubling news," he announced. His voice translator gave his words a metallic echo. "Our long-range detection systems have identified a massive fleet entering our shared space. They will reach our territories in approximately 1 Earth year." Images appeared on the large screen behind him. Hundreds of black ships moved together like a swarm. They were unlike any vessels Alan had ever seen, shaped like arrowheads with strange growths along their hulls. "Who are they?" Alan asked. "They call themselves the Void Dominion," Zorax replied. "They sent this message to our outpost near the Cygnus Arm." The screen changed to show a dark figure. It appeared almost human-shaped, but with skin like oil and eyes that glowed purple. When it spoke, its voice was deep and seemed to come from multiple throats at once. "We are the Dominion. Your territories are now ours. Your resources belong to us. Your people will serve us. Resistance brings only extinction. Surrender brings survival. You have until we arrive to decide." Silence fell over the room. Alan looked at Samantha, who had gone pale. "Have we tried communicating with them?" she asked. "Maybe we can negotiate." "We have," interrupted Krill, the Vorn representative. His insect-like face couldn't show emotion, but his antennae drooped. "They responded with the same message. They have destroyed 3 of our outposts already." Murmurs filled the room. Alan stood up. "Then we fight together. The coalition fleet is stronger than it's ever been. If we combine our technologies—" "No!" The shout came from Tella, the Medusan delegate. Her tank bubbled as her body flashed red. "You don't understand what we're facing." Zorax raised his 4-fingered hand. "Captain Miller, we have encountered the Dominion before. Not this generation, but our ancestors. The stories have been passed down. They do not negotiate. They do not show mercy. They consume everything in their path." Alan frowned. "Why haven't you mentioned this before?" "Because they disappeared centuries ago," Zorax explained. "We believed they had gone to another galaxy. We hoped they would never return." The room erupted in voices. Some shouted, others whispered urgently. Alan tried to make sense of it all. Beside him, Samantha typed notes frantically. "Order," Zorax called. When the noise died down, he continued. "The council has already voted. We must inform our human friends of our decision." Something cold settled in Alan's stomach. He didn't like the way Zorax said friends. "The 6 non-human species of the Galactic Coalition have decided to evacuate all our colonies and worlds in this sector of space," Zorax announced. "We will retreat beyond the outer rim, where the Dominion has not yet reached." Alan jumped to his feet. "You're running away. What about Earth? What about our shared defense pact?" Krill's mandibles clicked rapidly. "The pact was for conventional threats. The Dominion is beyond conventional." "You can't do this," Samantha said, her voice shaking. "Humanity doesn't have the technology to evacuate our entire population. Earth is our homeworld. We have nowhere to go. We regret this deeply." Zorak said. His silver skin had dulled to gray, a sign of genuine sadness. But each species must survive as it can. The evacuation begins immediately. All our forces are needed to protect our people as they move. Alan couldn't believe what he was hearing. 5 years of alliance, of sharing technology and building trust, gone in a moment. So that's it? You're abandoning us to face them alone? His voice echoed in the suddenly quiet chamber. Mila, the bird-like avian representative, spread her wings slightly. Your species is resourceful, Captain Miller. Perhaps you will find a way to survive. We cannot risk our entire civilizations on a fight we cannot win. When did you make this decision? Samantha demanded. How long have you known about the Dominion's return? Zorax looked away. The first signs came 3 of your months ago. We hoped we were wrong. 3 months. Alan slammed his fist on the table. You've been planning your escape while pretending everything was normal. We could have been preparing. We will leave you what technology we can, Zorax offered. But our ships must carry our people. Alan looked around the room, at the aliens he had thought were allies. Some couldn't meet his eyes, others stared back defiantly. None offered to change their minds. The council meeting is adjourned, Zorax announced. All species are instructed to begin evacuation procedures immediately. As the aliens filed out, Mila the avian approached Alan and Samantha. Her feathers were dull with stress. I argued against this decision, she said quietly. But I was outvoted, I'm sorry. Alan barely heard her. His mind raced with what this meant for Earth. They had 1 year to prepare for an enemy that had scared 6 advanced civilizations into running away. The last to leave was Zorax. At the doorway, he turned to face the humans. Your species is young and does not understand. There is no fighting the Dominion. They are endless. They are death. We are sorry, but we choose survival. The door closed behind him, leaving Alan and Samantha alone in the vast chamber. We need to contact Earth immediately, Samantha said, her scientist's mind already working on the problem. They need to know what's coming. Alan nodded, his jaw tight. They've given up without even trying to fight, but we won't. He stared at the screen, still showing the black ships of the Dominion. Humanity has faced extinction before. We didn't run then, and we won't run now. Samantha put her hand on his arm. What if they're right? What if we can't win? Alan looked at her, determination hardening in his eyes. Then we'll go down fighting. That's what humans do. Together, they walked toward the communication room to deliver the news to Earth. Around them, the once busy halls of the Galactic Council Station were already emptying as their former allies prepared to flee. 2 weeks after the council meeting, Captain Alan Miller stood in the underground command center beneath the Rocky Mountains. The room was filled with military leaders, scientists, and government officials from all over Earth. The air felt heavy, with tension. General Patricia Garcia paced in front of a large screen showing the solar system. She was a short woman with gray hair and a face lined by years of difficult decisions. The situation is clear, she said. Our alien allies have abandoned us. The Void Dominion will reach our solar system in approximately 11 months. We stand alone. The room stayed quiet as everyone took in her words. Dr. Samantha Powell stepped forward next. Her eyes were ringed with dark circles from lack of sleep. Good news, if we can call it that, is that our former allies left in such a hurry that they abandoned much of their technology, she said. She tapped her tablet and images appeared on the screen. These are outposts, research stations, and factories that the aliens simply walked away from. They took their people but left almost everything else. Kevin Harris, the head of Earth's technology division, stood up. He was tall and thin with glasses that kept sliding down his nose. We've already sent teams to these locations. The Zalari left behind advanced shield technology. The Vorn abandoned weapon systems beyond anything we've developed. And the Medusans left entire databases of scientific research. Can we use any of this to fight the Dominion? Asked a woman in a blue suit. The President of the United States. Kevin nodded. Yes, but we need time. These technologies are advanced. We understand some of it from our years in the Coalition, but not all. Alan stepped forward. We need to decide now. Do we fight or do we try to run? A murmur went through the room. An older man in a European Space Agency uniform stood up. Run where? Even if we could build enough ships to evacuate some of our people, where would we go? The aliens know more about space than we do, and they chose to flee. Maybe we should try to surrender. No. The voice came from a young man sitting near the back. Lieutenant Jack Davis was usually quiet in these meetings, but now he stood. He had short blonde hair and a determined look on his face. Throughout our history, we've faced extinction-level threats, plagues, world wars, climate collapse. Each time we didn't run. We adapted. We fought. It's what makes us human. The room fell silent again. Jack continued. The aliens ran because that's what they've always done. But that's not who we are. Earth is our home. If we have to fight for it, then we fight. General Garcia nodded slowly. Lieutenant Davis is right. Running isn't an option. Surrender means extinction, according to everything we know about the Dominion. So we fight. She looked around the room. Any objections? No one spoke up. Then it's decided, the president said. Operation Defiant Stand begins now. General Garcia will coordinate our military response. Dr. Powell and Mr. Harris will lead the technology adaptation team. After the meeting, Alan found Jack in the hallway. That was a good speech in there. Jack shrugged. I just said what everyone was thinking. Not everyone, Alan replied. Fear makes people consider options they normally wouldn't. You reminded them of who we are. He put his hand on the younger man's shoulder. I want you on my team. We're going to coordinate the Space Defense Forces. 3 months passed quickly. Every factory on Earth switched to making weapons and ships. The abandoned alien technology proved valuable, but challenging. Samantha worked 18-hour days with her team, trying to understand the complex systems. In orbit around Earth, Alan watched as workers attached new shield generators to the largest Earth ships. The generators were based on Zalari technology, but modified by human engineers. Will they work? He asked Samantha, who floated beside him in the zero gravity. In theory, she answered. We've only had a few months with technology the Zalari developed over centuries. But humans are good at making things work. On the moon, Jack Davis supervised the construction of massive cannons. They used principles from Vorn weapons but were built with human materials. Each one could fire a beam of energy powerful enough to cut through the largest ships in the old Coalition fleet. The problem is power, Jack explained during a video call with Alan. Each shot drains enormous energy. We can only fire each cannon 3 times before it needs to recharge. Make those shots count, Alan told him. Meanwhile, on Mars, engineer Susan Reyes led a team transforming the small colony into a military base. They built bunkers deep under the red soil and installed sensor arrays that could detect ships entering the solar system. If they come through the outer system, we'll have about 2 days warning, Susan told the command team. We're setting up automated defenses on the moons of Jupiter and Saturn. They won't stop the Dominion, but they might slow them down. Back on Earth, cities built massive underground shelters. People trained for emergency response. Children practiced evacuation drills. The whole planet prepared for war. 6 months after the council meeting, humanity had transformed. The once peaceful exploration fleet was now armed with weapons. Civilian ships carried shields and escape pods. Every human colony, from the moon to the moons of Jupiter, had defenses and evacuation. Plans General Garcia called a meeting of the top commanders. On a large table in the center of the room, a hologram showed the solar system and their defenses. We've done what we can with the time we have, she said. Now we need a strategy. The Dominion has more ships and more advanced technology. How do we fight them? Alan stepped forward. Not with their tactics. The aliens who fled told us the Dominion fights like a single unit, with perfect coordination. They've probably never faced an enemy that fights unpredictably. Guerrilla warfare, Jack suggested. Hit-and-run attacks. We don't try to match them ship for ship. Samantha nodded. and we use what they don't expect. The Dominion has conquered hundreds of worlds, but they've never faced humans before. They don't know what we're capable of. What about the colonies? Susan asked through a video link from Mars. We can't defend everything. No, Alan agreed. We concentrate our forces. Earth is the priority, then Mars. The outer colonies will have to fend for themselves or evacuate to the inner system. General Garcia looked at the hologram, at the tiny ships that represented humanity's defense fleet. We have 5 months until they arrive. Let's make sure we're ready. As the meeting ended, Alan looked out the window at Earth below. Somewhere out there, the Dominion fleet was coming closer every day. He thought about the aliens who had run away, about their fear. He felt that fear too, but alongside it was something stronger, determination. They think we'll be easy to conquer, he said quietly. They're about to learn how wrong they are. The warning came at 3:17 a.m. Earth time. Susan Reyes was monitoring the deep space sensors on Mars when they detected something unusual near the edge of the solar system. Multiple objects entering the system near Neptune, she reported through the emergency channel. Based on size and speed, it matches what we expected from the Dominion. The response was immediate. Across the solar system, defense stations went on high alert. On Earth, General Garcia activated the planetary shield system, an adaptation of Xelari technology that now surrounded the planet like a thin bubble. In orbit around Earth, Captain Alan Miller boarded his flagship, the EDF Guardian. The ship had once been an exploration vessel but now bristled with weapons. His crew worked quickly and quietly, their faces tense but determined. All ships report ready, Captain, said his communications officer. Alan nodded. Send the message to all. Fleet commanders. Operation Defiant Stand is now active. From a command center on the moon, Lieutenant Jack Davis watched as the defense grid came online. The massive cannons, built during the frantic months of preparation, turned toward the outer system. First wave of ships will reach Neptune's orbit in 6 hours, he informed Alan over the secure channel. Second wave is about 12 hours behind them. They're splitting their forces, Alan noted, just as we hoped. The human defense plan relied on facing the Dominion fleet in smaller groups rather than all at once. Commander Nicole Wright led the outer defense fleet from her ship, the EDF Resolute. She had positioned her ships around Neptune, using the planet's rings and moons for cover. Her fleet was small, just 25 ships, but each was equipped with the best weapons Earth could produce. Remember the plan, she told her captains. We don't stand and fight. We hit and run. Make them chase us through the moons and rings. The first Dominion ships appeared exactly when predicted. They were massive black vessels shaped like arrowheads, with strange growths along their hulls that pulsed with purple light. They moved in perfect formation, like a single organism rather than individual ships. Nicole waited until they passed the Moon Triton. Now, she ordered. Her ships burst from hiding places around Neptune's moons and rings. They fired quick, powerful blasts at the Dominion vessels, then immediately changed course, diving back into the cover of Neptune's rings. The Dominion ships responded with precision. Beams of purple energy cut through space, destroying 2 human ships instantly, but the rest had already disappeared among the ice particles of the rings. Again, Nicole commanded. Different positions this time. The hit-and-run attacks continued. The human ships appeared, fired, and vanished before the Dominion could lock onto them. It wasn't a perfect strategy. Each attack cost them ships, but it was working. The Dominion advance slowed as they tried to deal with the unexpected resistance. On key Triton, Neptune's largest moon, engineer Ryan Collins waited with his team. They had spent months building the gravity disruptors, massive devices based on abandoned Xelari technology. The machines couldn't be moved once activated, which made Triton a one-time battlefield. Commander Wright, Ryan called over the radio. We're ready here. Bring them in range. Nicole's voice came back, tight with tension. On our way. Be ready in 3 minutes. The remaining ships of the outer defense fleet emerged from hiding and formed a tight group. They fired at the Dominion vessels, then turned and fled toward Triton. The black ships followed exactly as planned. Almost there, Nicole reported. They're in pursuit. 20 Dominion ships following us. Ryan watched the radar as the human ships approached, with the Dominion fleet close behind. His hands hovered over the activation controls. Timing would be everything. Now! Nicole's voice shouted over the comm. Ryan and his team activated the gravity disruptors. The massive machines hummed to life, creating localized gravitational anomalies around Triton. Space itself seemed to bend and twist. The human ships, knowing exactly where the safe corridors were, navigated through. The Dominion vessels, caught by surprise, flew directly into the distorted gravity fields. 3 of their largest ships were torn apart immediately. Others spun out of control, colliding with each other or being pulled down toward Triton's surface. "It's working!" Ryan shouted. Around him, his team cheered. But their celebration was short-lived. The remaining Dominion ships adjusted quickly. They fired at the gravity disruptors on Triton's surface. The machines exploded one by one. "Evacuate now," Nicole ordered. "All Triton personnel, get to your escape ships." Ryan and his team ran for their small vessel. The ground shook beneath them as the Dominion continued to bombard the moon. They barely made it off the surface before their facility collapsed. Back at Earth, Alan received the reports from the outer system battle. "How bad is it?" he asked. "Lost 16 ships in the Triton base," Jack reported. "But we destroyed 7 Dominion vessels and damaged at least 15 more. They've pulled back to regroup." Alan nodded grimly. "Better than we expected for the first engagement. What about Commander Wright?" The Resolute made it out. They're regrouping at Titan. In her lab on Earth, Dr. Samantha Powell studied the data from the battle. Something caught her attention in the readings from the destroyed Dominion ships. "This is strange," she murmured to herself. She called Lieutenant Mary Simmons, who had been analyzing the Dominion technology. "I need you to look at these readings," Samantha said. "See this energy pattern? It's almost like they're communicating," Mary finished. "But not with signals. It's more like a shared consciousness," Samantha said. "The ships aren't just communicating, they're connected somehow." Mary nodded excitedly. "That would explain their perfect coordination. They're not individual ships at all. They're more like parts of a single entity." Samantha rushed to the command center, where General Garcia was reviewing battle plans with her staff. "We found something," Samantha announced. "The Dominion ships appear to share a unified consciousness. They're like a hive mind." The general looked up sharply. "Can we use this?" "Maybe," Samantha said. "If they're all connected, they might share vulnerabilities too. We need to capture part of a Dominion ship to study it." General Garcia turned to her communications officer. "Send a message to Commander Wright. We need a piece of a Dominion vessel. Any size." 3 days later, a small human ship returned to Earth carrying a fragment of a destroyed Dominion ship. It was brought directly to Samantha's lab under heavy security. The fragment was unlike any material they had seen before. It seemed partly mechanical and partly biological, with structures that resembled both circuits and blood vessels. "It's alive," Mary whispered as they examined it. "Or at least it was," Samantha nodded. "Not just technology, but biotechnology, far more advanced than anything the Coalition species had." She looked up at Alan and General Garcia, who had come to see their findings. "This changes everything. We're not just fighting machines, we're fighting something that's alive." "Can it be killed?" Alan asked. Samantha's eyes lit up with determination. "Every living thing has weaknesses. We just need to find this one's." Outside the lab window, the sun was setting over Earth. In the growing darkness, humanity had found its first glimmer of hope. 3 weeks after the battle at Neptune, the sensors on Mars detected new movement. Susan Reyes stared at her screen with growing dread. "General Garcia, we have a problem," she reported. "The main Dominion force has arrived. It's 5 times larger than the advance fleet." In the Earth Command Center, General Garcia received the news with a grim face. "How long until they reach Mars?" "At their current speed, 2 days," Susan answered. The general turned to her staff. "Send the alert to all forces. This is what we've been preparing for." Earth's remaining defenses gathered in formation around Mars. The red planet had become humanity's first real line of defense. If Mars fell, Earth would be next. Captain Alan Miller stood on the bridge of the EDF Guardian. Through the view screen, he could see hundreds of human ships taking position. It was the largest fleet Earth had ever assembled. Yet compared to the EI approaching Dominion force, it seemed small. "All ships report ready, Captain," his first officer said. Alan nodded. "Let's hope Dr. Powell's new weapon works." In her lab on Earth, Samantha and Mary worked frantically to complete the hive mind disruptor. Based on their study of the Dominion ship fragment, they had designed a device that might interfere with the shared consciousness of the enemy fleet. "The theory is sound," Samantha explained to General Garcia over a video call. "But we haven't had time to test it properly. It might not work at all." "We're out of options," the general replied. "Get it ready. We'll deploy it as soon as possible." The battle began sooner than expected. The Dominion fleet accelerated suddenly, reaching Mars orbit a full day earlier than predicted. As the black ships approached, they released a massive energy pulse that swept across the human fleet. Communication systems went dead. Radar and targeting computers failed. "We're blind," shouted Jack Davis from his command post on the Martian moon Phobos. Around him, operators tried desperately to restart their equipment. On the EDF Dauntless, Captain Frank Nelson discovered something unusual. His ship's old radio system, technology considered outdated even before the coalition, still worked. "This is Captain Nelson to any ships receiving," he broadcast on the simple radio frequency. "Switch to analog radio communications. Repeat, use old-style radio." One by one, human ships reported in using the ancient technology. The Dominion, expecting to fight an enemy that relied on advanced communications, had not bothered to jam such primitive signals. "Form up on my position," Frank ordered. "We'll coordinate the old-fashioned way." The human fleet regrouped, using the radio network to coordinate their movements. It wasn't as efficient as their normal systems, but it allowed them to fight back. The battle around Mars grew fierce. The orbital defense platforms built during the frantic months of preparation fired continuously at the Dominion ships. Human vessels darted between the larger enemy ships, using the tactics they had developed at Neptune. From his position on Phobos, Jack watched the battle with growing concern. "We're hitting them hard, but there are too many," he reported to Earth. "We need that disruptor now." On Earth, Samantha and Mary loaded their device onto a small, fast ship. It wasn't ready. They needed more time for testing, but time had run out. "The disruptor creates a field that should interfere with their shared consciousness," Samantha explained to the pilot. "But it has to be deployed inside their formation to work. It needs to be as close to their flagship as possible." The pilot nodded grimly. Everyone knew this was likely a one-way mission. As the battle raged around Mars, the defense platforms began to fall. One by one, the Dominion ships destroyed them. The human fleet fought bravely, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. Susan Reyes watched from her command center on Mars as the battle moved closer to the planet. "Evacuation ships are ready," she reported to General Garcia. "But we can't get everyone off in time." The general's face was grim. "Hold as long as you can. Help is coming." The small ship carrying the hive mind disruptor arrived at the edge of the battle. Its pilot, Lieutenant Ben Foster, received new orders directly from Captain Alan Miller. "Change of plans," Alan told him. "The Guardian will lead a strike team to deliver the disruptor. Your ship is too small. It wouldn't make it through their lines." Ben transferred the device to the Guardian, then joined its crew. Alan gathered a small team to explain the mission. "We're going straight for their flagship," he said, pointing to the largest Dominion vessel at the center of their formation. "The Guardian will get as close as possible. Then a small team will take a shuttle the rest of the way to place the disruptor." Ben looked at the tactical display showing the dense formation of enemy ships. "How do we get through that?" "We make a lot of noise somewhere else," Alan replied with a grim smile. The plan went into action immediately. Commander Nicole Wright, who had survived the battle at Neptune, led a daring attack on the far side of the Dominion formation. Her ships struck hard, drawing enemy vessels away from their center. "It's working," Nicole reported as dozens of Dominion ships moved to counter her attack. "You've got a gap, Captain Miller, but it won't last long." The Guardian accelerated toward the opening, followed by 3 smaller ships for protection. They took heavy fire immediately. One of the escort vessels exploded, then another. The Guardian's shields failed under the barrage, but it kept going. "We're in position," Alan announced when they reached the edge of the gap. "Launch the shuttle now." Ben Foster and a small team boarded the shuttle, carrying the precious disruptor device. The tiny vessel slipped away from the Guardian and flew directly toward the Dominion flagship. 30 seconds to target, Ben reported. His hands were steady on the controls even as energy beams flashed past the shuttle. 20 seconds. A blast rocked the shuttle, damaging one engine. Ben fought to keep it on course. 10 seconds. They were close enough now to see the details of the Dominion flagship. The strange biological growths pulsing with purple light, the smooth black surface that seemed to swallow light. 5 seconds. Another hit. Warning lights flashed across. The shuttle's controls were hit but still moving, almost there. The shuttle crashed into the side of the Dominion flagship. Ben and his team were thrown forward in their seats. Through the cracked viewport, they could see they had landed on the hull of the massive vessel. "Everyone okay?" Ben asked. 2 crew members were injured but alive. "Get the disruptor ready," he ordered. They worked quickly to set up the device, attaching it directly to the hull of the enemy ship. "Disruptor in place," Ben reported to the Guardian. "Activating now." He pressed the activation sequence. The device hummed to life, its lights blinking from red to green. "Now we get out of here," Ben said. They returned to their damaged shuttle, unsure if it could still fly. Across the battlefield, Alan and the others waited anxiously. For several long minutes, nothing happened. The Dominion ships continued their relentless attack. "It didn't work," Jack said from his position on Phobos. "The disruptor failed." But then something changed. A Dominion ship near the center of their formation suddenly fired on another black vessel. More ships began to move erratically, breaking their perfect formation. "It's working," Samantha exclaimed from Earth, watching the sensor data. "The disruptor is affecting their shared consciousness." Not all of the Dominion ships were affected. Some continued to fight normally. But many seemed confused, attacking their own vessels or simply drifting in space. "All ships, press the attack now," General Garcia ordered. "Target the ships that are still functioning normally." The human fleet surged forward, concentrating their fire on the Dominion vessels that remained coordinated. With their perfect formation broken, the enemy was suddenly vulnerable. Ben's shuttle limped away from the flagship, its engine sputtering. "The disruptor is working, but I don't know for how long," he reported. "We damaged it during the crash. It might fail at any moment." "You've given us a chance," Alan replied. "That's all we needed." The tide of battle had turned. For the first time since the conflict began, the humans were winning. The Battle of Mars ended 3 days later. The remaining Dominion ships retreated beyond the orbit of Pluto, their perfect coordination shattered by the hive mind disruptor. Earth had won a victory, but at a terrible cost. Nearly half of the human fleet had been destroyed. The Mars colony suffered heavy damage. Thousands of people died. 6 months passed. Humanity rebuilt its defenses and expanded into the territories abandoned by their former allies. The Dominion maintained a distant blockade around the solar system, but made no further attacks. Alan Miller, now Admiral of Earth's expanded fleet, stood on the observation deck of the new defense platform orbiting Earth. The platform had been built using a combination of human and salvaged alien technology. It was one of many now protecting the planet. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission," his communications officer reported. "It's coming from just outside the heliopause." Alan frowned. The heliopause marked the edge of the solar system, the boundary where the sun's influence ended and interstellar space began. "Is it the Dominion?" "No, sir. It's a Zalari vessel." Alan felt a surge of anger. The Zalari had been the first to flee when the Dominion appeared. Put it through. The screen lit up to show a familiar silver face. It was Zorax, the former council leader, who had announced the aliens' decision to abandon humanity. Captain Miller, Zorax said. His translator gave his words the same metallic echo Alan remembered. Or should I say Admiral Miller now? What do you want, Zorax? Alan's voice was cold. Permission to enter your system. We wish to speak with Earth's leaders. Why should we allow that? You left us to die. Zorax's 4 eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of distress. We have been monitoring the situation. You did what no species has done in 10,000 years. You fought the Dominion and survived. Alan said nothing, waiting for Zorax to continue. Some of our people believe this means the prophecies were true, that humanity is the defender species our legend spoke of. We don't care about your prophecies, Alan said. We fought because it's who we are. We don't abandon our home. Nevertheless, we wish to discuss a new alliance. We have knowledge that might help you against the Dominion when they return. Alan considered this. Despite his anger, he knew Earth needed all the help it could get. I'll speak with our leaders. 1 ship only, and it will be escorted at all times. 2 days later, a small Zalari vessel arrived at Earth, escorted by 4 human warships. Zorax was brought to a meeting room in the orbital platform where General Garcia, Dr. Samantha Powell, and other Earth leaders waited. Samantha barely recognized the Zalari leader. His once bright silver skin had dulled to a flat gray. He looked older, tired. Thank you for agreeing to meet, Zorax said, bowing slightly. I come representing not just the Zalari, but several of the former coalition species. Say what you came to say, General Garcia told him. First, I must express our regret for our actions. We abandoned you to what we believed was certain death. And yet here we are, Samantha said. Zorax nodded. Yes, you survived, more than survived. You drove the Dominion back. News of this has spread throughout the galaxy. He placed a small device on the table. It projected an image of the galaxy, with countless points of light representing star systems. The refugee colonies are here, he said, indicating several clusters of stars. We fled to the distant arms of the galaxy, hoping the Dominion would not follow. Did they? Alan asked. Not yet, but they will. The Dominion does not forget. They will recover from your attack, adapt to your weapons, and come again, not just for Earth, but for all of us. General Garcia leaned forward. Why are you telling us this? Because we want to offer an alliance. A true alliance this time, not like before. We will share all our technology, all our knowledge of the Dominion. In exchange for what? Samantha asked, suspicious. Your protection, Zorax admitted. The Zalari and the other species, we are not warriors. We never have been. But you humans. His 4 eyes studied them with new respect. You are different. Alan laughed without humor. Now you want our help, after leaving us to fight alone? Yes, Zorax said simply. We were wrong to abandon you. Many of us said so at the time, but fear guided our decisions. Now we see that running only delays the inevitable. The Dominion will find us eventually. Our only hope is to stand with you. The Earth leaders exchanged glances. Finally, Samantha spoke. We'll consider your offer, but trust has been broken. It will not be easily rebuilt. I understand, Zorax said. But consider this. The Dominion will return stronger than before. They will have adapted to your disruptor technology. You will need allies. After Zorax left, the Earth leaders debated the offer. Some wanted to reject it outright. Others saw the practical benefits of an alliance. They abandoned us once, General Garcia pointed out. They could do it again. True, Samantha said. But we need their knowledge. The Dominion has been fighting across the galaxy for centuries. The more we know about them, the better we can prepare. Alan had remained quiet during the discussion. Now he spoke. I don't trust them. But Zorax is right about one thing. The Dominion will come back. And next time, they'll be ready for our tactics. A week later, Alan met with Zorax again. This time, Dr. Samantha Powell accompanied him as Earth's scientific representative. "We've decided to accept a limited alliance," Alan told the Xelari leader. "You will share all your knowledge about the Dominion, their tactics, technology, weaknesses. In return, we will allow your scientists to work with ours on defense systems that can benefit both our peoples." "And protection?" Zorax asked. "We will not promise what we can't deliver," Samantha said firmly. "If you choose to stand with us when the Dominion returns, we will fight together. But we won't extend our forces to defend colonies across the galaxy." Zorax considered this, then nodded. "Fair terms. Better than we expected, honestly. There's one more condition," Alan added. "Any species that wants this alliance must commit resources to the fight. Ships, technology, personnel. We won't carry the burden alone this time." "Some will agree to this," Zorax said. "Others may not. But I believe the Xelari will." As Zorax prepared to leave, he paused at the door. "There is something else you should know. Our deep space sensors have detected unusual energy signatures beyond the blockade line. The Dominion is gathering its forces again." After the Xelari ship departed, Alan stood by the window watching Earth rotate slowly below. Despite everything, it was still beautiful. Blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown land masses. "Home." Samantha joined him. "Do you think they'll keep their word this time?" "Some will," Alan replied. "Others will run again when the fighting starts. But it doesn't matter. We've proven we can stand alone if we have to." "The real war is just beginning," Samantha said quietly. Alan nodded. "And this time, we'll be ready." On the edge of the solar system, the Dominion ships maintained their blockade. They had retreated but not given up. Their shared consciousness had been damaged but was healing. They had encountered resistance before, but never like the humans of Earth. The next attack would be different. The next attack would be overwhelming. But on Earth and its colonies, humans continued to prepare. They built more ships, stronger weapons. They studied the fragment of Dominion technology, learning its secrets. They trained and planned and refused to give in to fear. Other species might choose to run from the darkness that threatened the galaxy. Humanity had chosen to stand and fight. It was a choice that would echo across the stars, a defiance that would change the course of galactic history. The battle for Earth had ended. The war for the galaxy was about to begin.